Alright, so finally, the last review, the last part of this review of the FragFX version 2. First part I went through just the basic stuff, tech specs, stuff like that. Second part went through the various modes that you can put it in. For this third part, I'm going to talk to you about it's just basic performance. The fancy stuff, the complex stuff, the stuff that can't be done by a robot. I tried this with a lot of stuff. Specifically, I tried it with Red Faction Guerrilla, which is a game that it's a third-person shooter, but it has a reticle on screen all the time, compared to a game, say Uncharted, where the reticle isn't on screen all the time. You have to hold L1 to bring it up. For Red Faction Guerrilla, I thought it worked fine. I didn't notice any jumping around. When I say jumping around, I'm going to be saying that a lot, so you might as well know what it means. That's basically where it's not smooth, it's not pixel perfect. You'll actually, you can move the controller right and, move it very slowly. You want to move, say you need pinpoint accuracy. You're shooting from a mile away and you see just this one guy's head in between two, I don't know, stop signs or something stupid, and you have to shoot right in between it, but there's only one pixel of space. You might actually not be able to get to that pixel. Thing is, you have to remember, how often does that happen? Because in every other situation, this is 1,000 times better than DualShock. See, the DualShock will get to that one pixel. It'll take you half an hour, because it is a joystick, but it'll get you there eventually. This, you're not guaranteed. It has improved. Firmware upgrades have helped a lot, but again, it's not perfect. But I don't mind it, because that doesn't happen to me very often. But I better move on. I'm wasting time. What's next? Then I played Uncharted. That was a game that, I thought was a good test, because there's a lot of stuff to that game. First of all, the platforming I thought worked fine. I didn't have a problem with that whatsoever. And actually, I'd say the platform was plenty comfortable. It was equal to a DualShock. I can say that comfortably. Then the melee. The melee is one thing that DualShock is better at, but just because it's more comfortable. But it's sort of like the extreme long range thing. How often are you doing melee in Uncharted? Honestly, when I played through that single player, I tried to stay away from melee. I hated it. I'd rather just shoot him in the head with a pistol up close than actually try and punch him to death. So, I guess if you like melee, you might want to stick with DualShock, but I'd rather shoot him. When it comes to the gunplay, I think any game that involves a lot of playing when there isn't a reticle on screen, like Uncharted, when there isn't the reticle on screen, DualShock, just a joystick in general, is more comfortable. Maybe it's just me, but when I'm using a mouse, I want to see that reticle on screen all the time. But when it actually was on screen, it was a bit jumpy, even at the closer ranges. So I'd say, it is as good as a DualShock. In general, I'd say it's equal. In some areas it's better, some areas it's worse. It's something that I'm looking forward to trying out in Uncharted 2, definitely, because that's going to be where the competitive multiplayer is. This might give me an edge, it might not. So at this point, I'm undecided. So then after that, I moved on to Metal Gear. I just went into the virtual training area and just tried it out. And Metal Gear is one of those games. I don't know if you play Metal Gear Online. But you can see the pros, I guess you'd say, play that game, and it's incredible to watch, because they're playing. Trust me, they're all playing with DualShocks, and they are phenomenal. They can get a headshot from a quarter mile away in half a second, easy. Just as soon as they see you, you're dead. It's incredible what they do, and I think that's a testament to how good DualShock is with that game, and the fact that game is built for DualShock. And that when you try and use a mouse, it's just not as good. It works, but you're gonna want to stick with DualShock. There's no reason to stay away from that. So, if you want to improve your abilities in MGO, I suggest practicing, not trying to use one of these to get ahead. The thing is that a lot of the aiming in that game is done with just the camera, where you don't have the gun out, because the camera is so quick and you can, get their head in the center of the screen, and then you pull the gun out. You don't even need the reticle for a lot of that game. So it's again, that's sort of what I've said. Any game that doesn't have a reticle on screen, you're probably better off using DualShock. But I just want to go back and say Uncharted, you do a lot of aiming with the reticle on screen, not just the camera. So Uncharted was undecided, but MGO definitely DualShock. After MGO, or Metal Gear Solid 4, because I just did the training area, I played the World at War demo, which just came out. I'm glad it did. And that's the first person game that I played using this. And I gotta say, this thing was amazing. It outperformed the DualShock by a mile. And in general, all first-person games. I played Killzone 2 as well. This thing's amazing. At the extreme long ranges, like in Killzone 2, that Pierce Rise map, where you're shooting people from base to base, like just across the entire map, it's the same thing with the Red Faction, where it's not pixel perfect. But again, Killzone 2 is 90% close combat, and this thing rocks in close combat. I mean, you can, do quick 180s and just keep your reticle on their head even while they're trying to dodge you. It really just outperforms the DualShock in every way except for this extreme long ranges. But like I said a million times, you just have to remember how often does that happen. Then I already talked about Killzone 2, so then I just tried something that you would never use this for, Little Big Planet. I just want to make sure that it works with everything. It does. I wasn't expecting it not to. And then I tried a PlayStation 2 game, just to see. I do have a backwards compatible PS3. I have the Emotion Engine, the emulator, and I played Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, very popular game. And I think it was sort of like Red Faction Guerrilla. It was better. It wasn't so much better as in like the Call of Duty Killzone 2, just first-person shooter better, but it was a little bit better, and it worked fine with PlayStation 2 games. And then I tried it with a web browser, just to make sure, it works with menus, works with web browser, works with everything. I mean, it is a DualShock 3 in mouse format. That's all it is. The only problems with it are that it's not pixel perfect, and I mean pixel for pixel. Sometimes it jumps 3 pixels, and that's forgivable. But I think for the most part in first-person shooters it's a lot better. You have to consider how much do you play first-person shooters. I play them a lot. I want to try this out for Battlefield 1943. Haven't had the chance, but I might have to get that, especially with all the fun I've been having with this FragFX. Overall, I'd say that this is a great buy for any ex-PC gamer who's been moving to consoles. Anybody who just loves first-person shooters and wants to get an edge. But if you're trying to save money, this isn't for you. If you play with 2 joysticks your whole life, this isn't for you. And if you don't feel like putting in the time to adjust all the settings right, this isn't for you, because they have software you can download from Splitfish, and it allows you to adjust pressure sensitivity. You can remap the buttons. You can do all kinds of stuff with it, and you need to use that. You need to first of all set all the pressure sensitivity down to as low as possible, so that the slightest tap is registered. If you get it out of the box, it won't be that way. You're gonna have to press it kind of firm. So don't complain about that. Adjust it. You might want to remap the buttons. I will say, do it to where you're comfortable. But if you can avoid it, if it's something that isn't absolutely necessary, try to avoid it, because you don't want to make it too complicated. I mean, you might get to the point where you don't remember where the buttons are, and that's just frustrating. But yeah, I think I've said all I have to. This review has been plenty long. I think I covered all I needed to. And if you watched the whole thing, congratulations. I know that must have been arduous. But yeah, again, I recommend this to everyone who wants it. Everyone who thinks that it's worth the $70. You will like it a lot, as long as you put the time into it. But now I'm repeating myself over and over again. I better quit now. Thanks for watching. Bye.